Okay guys, ever wonder why Amish gardeners plant fast things like radishes right next to big, slow tomatoes? It looks like a mess, a total waste of good dirt. But this strange choice is how they feed their families for a whole year, from summer to winter. What they do in their gardens will change everything you thought you knew about growing food. So what's really going on here? This isn't just a quirky gardening trick. For the Amish, this is survival. It's about total self-sufficiency. Their gardens aren't just a hobby. They're a core part of the home. They're expected to feed the entire family all summer and then stock the pantry with enough to last through the entire winter. And that means they can't afford to waste a single inch of soil or a single drop of water. This knowledge didn't come from a book. It's been passed down from parent to child for generations, figuring out what works without any modern shortcuts or chemicals. Their gardens are often 2 or 3 times bigger than a normal backyard garden, and they've perfected ways to get the most out of them. So today, we're diving into their secrets. We'll look at how they build incredibly healthy soil that needs less water, and we'll break down their strategy of creating plant neighborhoods, where certain plants work together to protect each other from pests. It's an old-school system that flat out works. Let's get into it. Alright, so one of the biggest Amish secrets is that they almost never let you see their soil. And I mean that literally. In a typical garden, you have your rows of plants, and in between them, you've got bare dirt. But in an Amish garden, that bare dirt is seen as a total waste of space. Instead, they use what's called a living mulch. The idea is simple. The ground should always be covered with something that's growing. So between their rows of big, slow-growing plants like tomatoes or corn, they'll plant fast-growing crops like radishes, lettuce, or spinach. These fast crops sprout up quickly, covering the soil. This does a few amazing things at once. First, it chokes out weeds before they can even get started. Second, it acts like a living blanket, keeping the soil cool and moist, which means they have to water way less. And the best part? They get a whole extra harvest out of the exact same space. They'll pull up all those radishes right around the time the bigger tomato plants need the room to spread out. It's about maximizing every single inch and every single minute of the growing season. This whole strategy extends into creating what you could call plant neighborhoods. They intentionally plant certain types of plants together because they help each other out. Some plants repel bugs that attack their neighbors. Others add nutrients to the soil that their partners need to grow strong. It's a natural, built-in system for pest control and fertilizer. To really build up their soil, they also plant things they don't even plan to eat. They use cover crops, like clover and alfalfa. These plants send down deep roots that break up hard, heavy clay soil, making it light and airy. And here's the really clever part. These crops pull a nutrient called nitrogen right out of the air and store it in the soil. It's basically free, all-natural fertilizer. When the time is right, they just cut these crops down and leave them on the ground to become a natural mulch, feeding the soil as they break down. And the results of this are just staggering. One study found that gardens using these methods produced 70% more food than a standard garden. And get this, they did it while using 40% less water. It's a system that builds on itself. The longer they do it, the healthier the soil gets. Another long-term study showed that this kind of soil performed just as well as conventionally fertilized soil in normal years. But during a drought, the Amish-style soil produced even more. It was just tougher and held on to water so much better. In fact, researchers found that adding just 5% of compost to garden soil can make it hold 4 times as much water. It's all part of a system designed to be tough, resilient, and incredibly productive year after year. Okay, so all of this careful planting on top of the ground, the living mulch, the plant neighborhoods, it's all done for one main reason: to build a completely self-sufficient world under the ground. Because in this way of thinking, the soil isn't just dead dirt. It's a living, breathing ecosystem. And when I say living, I'm not exaggerating. In just a single teaspoon of truly healthy garden soil, scientists have found there can be billions of tiny microbes. Billions with a B. It's a hidden city of life, a bustling underground community that does all the heavy lifting for the plants. This invisible world is the engine that makes the whole system run. It's why they don't need a shelf full of chemicals or bags of store-bought fertilizers. The entire focus is on feeding this hidden world first, knowing that it will then feed the plants. They're always adding organic matter, things like compost and animal manure. This isn't just a one-time soil prep, it's a constant process of giving back, of topping up the soil's pantry. They also think in terms of roots. By planting a huge variety of cover crops, they get a whole mix of different root systems digging down into the dirt. Some roots, from plants like a daikon radish, will drive super deep, acting like natural plows to break up heavy, compacted clay. It makes the soil loose and airy. Other plants, like clover, are masters at grabbing a nutrient called nitrogen right out of the air and storing it in the soil for other plants to use. It all works together to create a perfect home for that underground city of microbes. The ultimate goal here is to create a garden that never needs fertilizer. Ever. It's a closed-loop system designed to feed itself endlessly. But this isn't a quick fix you do in one weekend. It's a long-term strategy that takes real patience. For example, some Amish gardeners will use a 3-year plan just to get a new patch of ground ready for planting vegetables. For that entire first year, they might only plant something like clover or alfalfa. They don't harvest any of it for food. They just let it grow, send its roots deep, and pull that nitrogen into the soil. Then, they just cut it all down and leave it right on the ground to decompose. That becomes the food for next year's soil. It's a massive investment of time and space, all to build that perfect foundation. By the 3rd year, that soil is completely transformed. It's not just dirt anymore. It's a robust, living system that holds onto water and nutrients like a sponge. And that's what makes their gardens so incredibly tough. The whole ecosystem becomes less fragile. When pests show up, or you get a week of crazy weather, the garden has the strength to bounce back much more effectively. It's a total shift in mindset. It's not about just getting one good harvest. It's about building a self-reliant system that gets stronger, healthier, and more productive with every single year that passes. A garden that literally builds and feeds itself. Okay, so all that hard work, building this perfect, living soil, it's all pointing to one thing. It's the answer to the big question, why? And the answer is simple. The garden isn't a hobby. It's the family's grocery store, pharmacy, and bank account, all rolled into one. The goal isn't just to have fresh tomatoes in July. The goal is to eat from that garden in January. This whole mindset is about abundance. It's about planning for a pantry that's overflowing, a cellar packed with jars that will feed the family all winter long. And that level of self-sufficiency takes military-grade planning. The garden is managed in stages, like a constant, rolling harvest. As soon as the early spring stuff like lettuce and radishes are done, that same patch of ground is immediately replanted with fall vegetables. Bare soil is wasted space, and wasted space doesn't fill a pantry. This way of thinking is so ingrained that many Amish gardeners will start planting before the last frost is even gone. They'll just cover the young plants at night, all to get a head start and squeeze every last drop of production out of the season. This is a system designed to maximize everything. And because of that incredible soil we talked about, the results are just staggering. One study on their soil building methods found that after 3 years, their plots produced about 70% more food while needing 40% less water than a conventionally prepared garden. Let that sink in. 70% more produce.